A man vaped during lunchtime in London. Tolga Akman, Agence France Presse, Getty Images, Washington. A national panel of public health experts concluded in a report released on Tuesday that vaping with e-cigarettes that contain nicotine can be addictive and that teenagers who use the devices may be at higher risk of smoking. Whether teenage use of e-cigarettes leads to conventional smoking has been intensely debated in the United States and elsewhere. While the industry argues that vaping is not a stepping stone to conventional cigarettes or addiction, some anti-smoking advocates contend that young people become hooked on nicotine, and are enticed to use cancer-causing tobacco-based cigarettes over time. The new report by the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering and Medicine is the most comprehensive analysis of existing research on e-cigarettes. The report also cited conclusive proof that the devices are safer than traditional smoking products and may help smokers quit, citing conclusive proof that switching can reduce smokers' exposure to deadly tar, dangerous chemicals and other carcinogens. But it stopped short of declaring that e-cigarettes are safe, in noting there are no long-term scientific studies of the device's addictive potential or their effects on the heart, lungs or on reproduction. The panel found evidence among studies it reviewed that vaping may prompt teenagers or young adults to try regular cigarettes, putting them at higher risk for addiction, but that any significant linkage between e-cigarettes and long-term smoking has not been established. It said it was unable to determine whether young people were just trying cigarettes or becoming habitual smokers. When it got down to answering the questions about what the impacts on health are, there is still a lot to be learned, said David Eden, of the University of Washington, who led the committee that reviewed existing research and issued the report. E-cigarettes cannot be simply categorized as either beneficial or harmful. The report was commissioned in 2016, after the FDA gained the authority to regulate tobacco products that had previously been outside its jurisdiction, such as e-cigarettes and cigars. Mitch Zeller, head of the agency's tobacco division, said the committee was assigned to assess the existing science, and to point out gaps in research. The report will aid the agency in its review of applications for lower-risk tobacco products and the potential harm or benefits those pose to individuals and the public. On Wednesday, an FDA advisory panel will review an application from Philip Morris International for IQOS, an electronic device that, unlike e-cigarettes, contains tobacco in a stick that the company says heats it but does not burn it. It releases nicotine vapor, which the company says is less hazardous than smoke. If approved, Philip Morris would be the first company allowed by the government to claim its product is less harmful than cigarettes. Also this week, on Friday, the agency's new nicotine steering committee will hold a public hearing on over-the-counter therapeutic products, among them gums, patches and lozenges, designed to help smokers quit. The health effects of e-cigarettes cessation was one area where the committee's report did give the booming e-cigarette industry some good news. It pointed out the benefits for smokers trying to quit. But people who continue to smoke cigarettes, alternating with e-cigarettes, do not gain the same health benefits, the committee said. That's especially important given that most adults who vape also still smoke or use other tobacco products. The report also said the evidence was limited on whether e-cigarettes were effective for quitting smoking. While there is no evidence at this time that e-cigarettes or their components cause cancer, the committee recommended more long-term research. Some e-cigarettes contain chemicals and metals whose long-term effects, including on pregnancy, also need further study, the committee said. Smoking rates among adults and teenagers have declined significantly over the last few decades. In 2015, the last year for which the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has statistics, about 37 million Americans, 15% of adults aged 18 and older, smoked cigarettes. The number has declined from nearly 21% of every 100 adults in 2005, and 42% in 1965. With that decline, the e-cigarette industry has emerged as a potential substitute and big tobacco has been among the device developers enjoying new profits from the tobacco alternatives. Bonnie Herzog, a Wells Fargo tobacco analyst, predicted the industry will grow about 15% to $5.1 billion in retail sales in the United States in 2018. The vaping industry, as well as traditional tobacco companies, are gearing up for a lengthy fight with the FDA over the campaign by the agency's commissioner, Dr. Scott Gottlieb, to slash levels of nicotine in traditional cigarettes to non-addictive or minimally addictive levels. Gottlieb is expected to issue an initial proposal, calling for public comment on lower nicotine levels, in the near future. The new report reflects the complexity of the issues surrounding e-cigarettes, and the balancing act regulators face over the pros and cons of the alternatives to conventional cigarettes. Adam Leventhal, a professor of preventive medicine at the University of Southern California, and an author of the report, said his group did an exhaustive literature search, reviewing